What's up, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and things are getting even more embarrassing for the Acolyte. It is now sub 20%. Actually, I haven't checked it. I thought I saw screen captures of it going sub. It's even lower than it was before. It's now just 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. 17%. It is leagues worse than any other Star Wars reviewed show in history. The closest thing that I think exists would be either Solo or I think The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi had a 41% with over 100,000 reviews. Star Wars The Acolyte is sitting at a 17%. Speaking of 17, it cost nearly 17 Godzilla minus ones. How embarrassing is that budget? Hundreds of millions of dollars thrown in. I mean, it's basically laundering at this point. I can't really think of a reason why you would have put all that money away. By the way, Disney also tried to get Gina Carano's Mandalorian lawsuit quickly dismissed, but the judge said, not so fast. Just another blow to the Disney Star Wars franchise. Disney argued in front of a judge that the studio had the right to sever its relationship with Carano because she did not espouse viewpoints that the company agreed with. According to the Hollywood Reporter, the judge stated that the First Amendment could not be used as a shield to potentially violate discrimination laws. Carano is arguing that her firing was discriminated over discrimination and that the studio violated California labor laws in terminating her. I think they probably did. I think what's going to end up happening is Gina Carano's going to settle this lawsuit and get a big old check. That's what I think. That's how this is going to turn out. Now, speaking of turning, the internet has turned on Dave Filoni. You know, when The Mandalorian came out, season 1, everyone thought, well, maybe not everybody. I know some of you saw him for what he was. But there are many people that were like, oh my God, finally, Dave Filoni in his hat. He gets Star Wars. He gets Star Wars. Well, the internet turned on him yesterday as they've already started to play the blame game, right? You see, Leslie Headland now says that Dave Filoni was a, quote, mentor in the making of The Acolyte and guided her. It was his idea to include the witches that weren't Night Sisters. Quote, Dave Filoni very quickly became a kind of a mentor of mine in terms of navigating what this part of the timeline would be like for both the Jedi and other Force users. He told me, you know, not all witches are Night Sisters. So they've started. Now, I don't know when this interview was given, but if it was, you know, this is a brand new article. So if this is a brand new interview that Leslie Headland has given, she's starting to blame other people already. They're seeing the negative feedback online, and now they're blaming each other. You see, it was Dave Filoni who worked alongside Star Wars creator George Lucas on an animated show, which helped guide Headland in the creation of her own in-world coven, led by another strong independent woman who don't need no man. Dave Filoni very quickly became a kind of mentor of mine in terms of navigating what this part of the timeline would be like for both the Jedi and Force users. It was kind of this aha moment for me when he told me, you know, not all witches were Night Sisters. I mean, what is the aha moment? That you don't have to respect the lore? You know, in the third episode of The Acolyte, we travel back in time from 2 episodes in the premiere, and we go right into the dumpster. Right into the dumpster. I mean, this film, you see this, Dave Filoni reportedly behind the creation of Leslie Headland's LGBTQ witch coven in Star Wars The Acolyte. If you look at the reaction, you know, they were talking about this, I think Mahler and Star Wars Theory and these people are all talking about this. Dave Filoni is kind of a hack. He kind of sucks. You know, she explained as the characters developed, it made a lot of sense that they would be the center of a coven, that the girls would almost be revealed as children, but the legacy of what their mother started. I mean, Are you joking? Headland also played coy with Jodie Turner-Smith's mother, stating that she created a twin. She told Entertainment Weekly, if you keep watching the show, no one's going to do that. We do talk about that and explore that. I would say that there isn't one answer to it. Some characters believe certain things and other characters believe other things. Wow, great. I mean, excellent point, Leslie. I mean, every penny that they're paying this woman, it's not enough. You know, it's not enough money. You're going to have to watch and decide which side of the argument you're on. No, nobody's watching it. Nobody's watching it. Headland had previously claimed that she believed the concept of religion was, quote, oppressive. It's an unusual point in pieces of pop culture that have representations of extreme spirituality. The concept of God is such a heavy concept. The concept of religion is such a really oppressive one, especially for people like myself and many, 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 many others. Why? 'Cause you're gay. Nobody cares. And by the way, if you've taken even a 30-second look at what mainstream churches look like, they're hanging pride flags these days too. So don't tell me that you're ostracized. You don't tell me for a second that any one of those churches, those mega churches in LA, don't celebrate Pride Month. Because they do. You see, it wasn't enough for Filoni to have Kathleen Kennedy, ruining his legacy and interfering with his work. So he decided to bury himself with the Acolyte. Great, unless this was a cunning attempt to separate it from the Night Sisters and deliberately frame it for negative feedback, as was the case with his retcon of the Ahsoka novel. I mean, people don't like it. And as the score continues to sink, if the Walt Disney Company and the Lucasfilm thought their audience scores could get any worse following the first 2 episodes of the show, they received a rude awakening as the show's audience score across multiple aggregators has now sharply fallen. Following the release of the first 2 episodes, the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes was at 32, with an average rating of 2.1 out of 5. Even the critic score is down. The critic score is down to an 86. This time it was a 93. And if you know how many reviews it takes to go from a 93 to an 86, that means a bunch of negative ones have poured in. The score has now fallen to 20%. By the way, we know the score is actually 17% now. It's even lower. With an average review of 1.5 out of 5. Even the critic score has declined from 93 to 85. On IMDb, the score initially set at a 5.1 out of 10, albeit the unweighted mean was 4.4 and the plurality of votes were a 1 out of 10. I mean, yeah, you're going to have people that rate it a 10 out of 10. This is one thing that a lot of people who whine and complain about review brigading and things like that, it's like, you mean to tell me that 1,300 people thought that this show was a 10 out of 10? No. I usually take the 10s and the 1s out of it, and I look at everything in between, you know? So most people rate this like, there's 3s and 2s and 9s and 8s are about the same. So it's a 5, you know? The score has now fallen to a 4 out of 10, with the unweighted mean 3.5 out of 10. Almost a majority of all reviews are now a 1 out of 10. 17,000 1 out of 10 reviews. If you look at the reviews per episode, which is obviously the more interesting one, I think, it clearly shows that viewers did not like the 3rd episode. The 3rd episode received a 5.8. First. The 2nd episode received a 5.6. The 3rd received a 3.7. Of note, the 3rd episode has also received less total reviews, indicating that a number of people have tuned out of the show following the first 2 episodes and chosen not even to watch the 3rd episode. I mean, that's possible. The number of reviews between the 1st and 3rd episode have declined by 32%. I would not be surprised that total viewership also declined by nearly 30%. I just think 1, 2, 3 episodes in, we're never going to hear how this show ended. We're never, Disney's like, 70 million zillion people tuned in to watch The Acolyte. They're never going to tell us. They're never going to tell us how many actually finished the show. The only site where the score hasn't changed is Metacritic. It still sits at a 4.1. It initially had 100 positive reviews, 19 mixed, and 166 negative reviews. The series still has a user score of 4.1, but now there are 354 positive reviews, 61 mixed, and 600 negative. So it's still overwhelmingly negative. Now, for comparison, according to Nielsen, so look at this. The negative reactions come in the wake of an extremely soft opening. debut as far as viewership. Data analytics company Luminite reported that the first 2 episodes only garnered 210 million minutes watched in the United States between May 31st and June 6th. 210 million. 210 million. For comparison, Ahsoka's 2-episode premiere had 829 million. That's nuts. In fact, the Walt Disney Company even released data claiming that The Acolyte only garnered 4.8 million views in the first days and just 11.1 million views globally after 5 days, which is significantly less than what you got from Ahsoka. You know, I think people were misinformed on the witches that weren't lesbians at all, since there wasn't even a kiss in that episode. Wait, what? What? Oh, that's just they're getting downvoted into oblivion. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that I have a lot of interest in Star Wars at all anymore. I mean, there's just nothing left. It's just a hollowed out husk. You know, there's nothing left. But I am enjoying watching it crash and burn. I don't know if it could go lower than 17%, but I'll be watching. And if it does, we'll all point and laugh. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.